What is up, Eastern Oregon? This is Dodzy, and this is your sports show for Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. Happy birthday to my lovely mother. Today's her birthday. I don't even know how old she is. Probably like 29. Love you, Mom. This is all brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams in LeGrand. Go check out their showroom. Northwest Furniture and Mattress. They want to make you comfortable in your own home. Today's show, we're just going to cut right to the chase. It's all about EOU football. It's all about seniors. They play Montana Western on the road this weekend. Last game of the year. They had senior day last week. We celebrated all the seniors. He's a senior. He's an offensive lineman. He's a 6-year senior. Karson Brown, here it is. Karson, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. So let's start it off with this is year 6. Did you do the same thing Josh did? Did you senior last year too, or was this your first senior day?
This is my first senior day. Real senior day.
All right, talk about those feelings.
Going into the week, kind of knew it was going to be a little bit of a roller coaster. Just try to take it all in. Definitely kind of making that walk, being the last guy, kind of all hit me at once. But then, at the end of the day, you got a game to play too. So being able to just take it all in and enjoy the time that I've had here at Eastern Oregon and kind of wrap up my last home game here. So it was fun.
Yeah, that was it. That's it.
Yep.
It's the last time you'll ever play on Mountie turf.
Yep, last one.
Wow. For you, how'd you end up at Eastern Oregon?
For me, it was kind of one of those things, like I look back at stuff you did in like first, second grade, right? And I had it written down, just play college football. Didn't really matter where I went. I just knew that's what I wanted to do. So I think that's what kind of drove me to just keep pursuing it. I went to so many camps between my junior and senior year. Finally got in touch with Coach Camp and, made it happen. So can't be, I don't think I'd want to be anywhere else.
Yeah. So you had your freshman and sophomore year, you played defensive line, and then you transitioned to offensive line. Why? What was the reasoning there?
I had a good conversation with Coach Camp. We had some injuries coming up on the O-line and just kind of seeing who we had on the D-line at that time, knowing if, one, I wanted to see the field a lot sooner. And I feel like my offensive knowledge is probably a lot better than it would be on defense. Just being able to, see safety rotation, know where a blitz is coming from, that type of thing. So just knowing that what I could provide offensively as a tackle, feeling like I'm somewhat athletic, at least I like to think so. Just wanted to be able to help the team any way I could, and that was it.
Yeah, and with the defensive line that we had at the time with Sage and Chase.
Yeah, all those guys.
It was you were, getting on the field with those guys is like, it would have been tough.
Definitely planning ahead a little bit for the future, but yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about being an offensive lineman?
Honestly, probably just the group of guys we have this year. We're a lot closer, I feel like. If something happens and we're able to talk about it, it's not like a big argument on the sideline. We're able to talk about it, figure it out, move to the next play, and I just think we've got a good group of guys that I've been able to be a part of.
Yeah. For you personally, like, what's your best memory as a Mountie?
I mean, hard to narrow it down, I'd say, but honestly, going into meetings every day is probably one of my fondest memories I have. Just being able, you watch film, you mess up a couple times, but just being able to be with all those guys and talk about practice and knowing that's coming to an end, it's kind of tough. But yeah, I'd say meetings are probably one of my fondest memories.
Well, let's talk about this year a little bit. We are literally on the cusp of being a really good team. Like, do you feel a letdown there, or is it where are you at mentally on that?
I think it just comes from being consistent as an offense, right? We've been up and down all year, and sometimes we tend to play to who we're playing against, right? That C of I game, we come out firing on all cylinders, getting after it, and then this last week, credit to Southern, they did their job. We couldn't really find the end zone that many times, but just being more consistent, I think, is the key. Being able to establish a run game so you can get your play action stuff going, all that type of stuff. It ties into each other. That maybe the average fan won't see, but we know it as an offensive line. If we can't run the ball, we can't get our deep shots that we want.
Right. Which, that would be the one place where I think we maybe struggled a little bit this year as an offensive line is the run game. But I'll tell you what, and you can give your thought on this. In the last 2 years, like I feel like the offensive line has come leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just ties into that trust factor we talk about, knowing that, I can trust the guy next to me. Am I going to have tail protection in this zone scheme type of thing? Just knowing that they're going to be in the right place at the right time and being able to trust the guy next to you.
Yeah. What'd you go to school for? What are you
Business.
studying?
Businessman. Kind of, had a good talk with Coach Camp, and I think coming out and GAing to finish it out, I don't think I could just drop football all at once. It's kind of become a part of my life and my lifestyle at this point. So I think, coaching is probably going to be in my near future with that.
Yeah, that's going to be that. I talk about that a lot. I like to compare it to either being in prison or being in the military, right? All of a sudden you're out of this structured life, this scheduled life. And that's going to be tough, dude. Yeah. Are you prepared for that?
I mean, even in the summer, it's like, oh my gosh, I have all this free time, and don't know what to do. So that's why I try to stay busy, go to all the camps I can to help out with. So I think keeping that somewhat structured, being able to be a GA and just help out where I can is going to kind of help me finish out through school and be able to set me up for the rest of my life.
Outside of coaching, what do you want to do for a job when you're?
Marketing management is pretty sweet. Just like all the stuff you can do, like social media's become a huge part of everyday life. Everyone has a phone on them. Everyone looks at it. So I mean, that's kind of a big thing for me, and I'd like to pursue that.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there, man.
Yep.
The sky's the limit with it too. You see, you pay attention. I'm sure new stuff every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
And somebody will come up with a trick here, a trick there, a way to break through the wall, I like to call it, to get views.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. There's so much opportunity. Where you see yourself in 10 years?
10 years, I'd like to say, either be an offensive coordinator somewhere or an O-line coach. I love the game so much, and it's just, like I said, it's become just a part of me at this point. So I think really pursuing that coaching job is going to be big for me.
Family, kids?
I'd like to think so, but
you never know.
You never know.
Right.
You never know.
So coaching-wise, what level, what age do you want to coach?
I mean, I think for me, being around college, just because, one, I've been here for 6 years, so I kind of get that feeling of how it works and how it's supposed to be and how competitive it truly is. I think college really is where I want to be and where I want to stay at.
It's a good level.
Yeah.
I coached middle school for 6 years. And that was the toughest 6 years of my life right there, man. Middle school kids, they're right on that breaking point of deciding whether they really want to play football or not. You got to get the snot knocked out of you one time before you can really decide.
Right.
And right around that age is the first time it happens, and then just the whole middle school thing, man. It was tough, but I love coaching. I just don't do it anymore because I don't like parents.
Right.
Honestly.
Right.
I don't like dealing with and in college you don't really have to deal with
it. Right. I think that's a big thing in college. If the parents are involved too much, it kind of makes you, question things. And I don't know. I feel like if you made it here, you should, dedicate yourself to the program and be able to go
100%.
with what it says.
Yeah, you got to put your faith into whoever's in charge of that program. That's all there is to it. Who's your hero?
Honestly, I'd probably say, I've been blessed with a great high school football coach who was able to, pave the way for me to, one, be able to even have a chance to come to Eastern, had a huge role over there at Vail, and, I don't take that for granted, so I'd probably say my head coach over there at Vail.
Who?
Jeff Aldred.
Still there?
Yep, still over there.
Yeah, he was over here in Baker this summer.
Yep, still talk to him every once in a while, and, just it's nice to be able to keep in touch, and just,
That's awesome. So college-wise, you're going to come back next year in GA and coach. Do you in your plans, do you see yourself staying around here? Do you want to keep coaching at EOU, or do you want to get out and see other parts of the world?
I mean, EOU's been such a huge part of my life, and if I did stay here, I don't think it'd be the death of me. It wouldn't be terrible, but I do think there are advantages to being able to move. Say you move across country, right? It's a whole different lifestyle. Be able to learn from different coaches and everything. I mean, Coach can't be such a knowledgeable guy, but there's still always things you can learn. You know? So
for sure. I mean, you when you're young, I think you should jump around to as many schools as you can and just soak in everything. Because then, you know, instead of being a one-dimensional coach, you have all these different influences and you have all this different knowledge. You know what I mean? It's a great, and if you have the opportunity, take every opportunity you can get. For you, as a senior, a leader, this is your 6th year. What's the one thing, and we'll end it with this, what's the one thing that you want to leave in the minds of the younger guys?
I think the biggest thing is just, you know, trust the process, really buy into what we're selling over here at EOU. I mean, yeah, it hasn't been the season we want, no, but I mean, are we those 10, 15 plays away from having a whole different season? Yeah, we are. So, I mean, it's there. What we've done works. Now we just have to be able to, you know, tie it all together. And I think them knowing and trusting the process will be huge.
Yeah, I like Josh had a really good quote. He talks about the tree, right? You plant the tree not for shade for yourself, but for shade for the, you know, people that are coming up underneath you, right? And you're right about the whole couple bounces, and we have 3 more wins than what we have right now. You know what I mean? We score in the red zone against Carroll, we win that game. I think if we score in the first half there, a touchdown, the when we were on the 1.5 yard line, I think we win that game hands down. Like, you know what I mean? They're buried at that point. It's over. Not over, but you know what I mean? It's a different. But you know, things don't always go perfect. You know.
Right, and I mean, I think that's a big thing. You know, we've been able to, like, you could just throw it all away and, you know, say, oh, that's the season, whatever. You know, this last game doesn't matter, but, you know, we're playing a highly ranked team this next weekend, and, you know, we have the chance to be able to go and maybe ruin their season. You know,
let's do it.
So I mean, I think that's a big thing for us, is just keep our eye on the prize and finish out strong.
When you walk off that field on Saturday, last game ever in college, what do you think is going to be going through your mind?
I mean, it'll probably be a lot of emotion, you know, win or lose, but being able to look back and, you know, not have any regrets, I think, is what I'm going to be pretty proud of.
Yeah,
so
for sure. 6 years, man, that's a long time. Eastern Oregon, he's EOU senior football player, Karson Brown. I'm Dodzy. Karson, I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really appreciate it. 6 years of your life dedicated to the Mountie football program. That's a lot, man, and this community appreciates you. My next senior, he's a captain. He wore the number 7 this year, which is it's a super important number. It's a legacy number, and it gets handed to a new person every year or every few years, depending, and it's the leader of the team. He's senior Josh Mendoza. Here it is. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Well, I mean, it's coming to an end.
Yep.
6 long years of football, man.
Yeah, it's surreal.
They talk about, like, you know, it's kind of like the military or similar to like people that have been incarcerated, right?
Yeah.
You get used to this lifestyle, like it's all you know. Is there any fear, like, moving forward, like coming out of football? You know, like, it's going to be a completely different life.
You know, I think even just life in general, you know, when you don't know what's going to happen next, I mean, there's always the fear of just like, man, like a year from now, what it's going to look like. I know the last 4 years or 5, well, 6 years for me, but you know that there's going to be fall, there's going to be spring football, there's going to be fall camp. Like, you know, in a year's time that you know your schedule. I mean, you know what life's going to look like. And so just not kind of knowing that, I mean, there's a little bit of fear, but I mean, there's also some excitement. I mean, it's another chapter. You know, it's time to move on, you know.
How'd you end up at EOU?
Man, it's a long story. So was actually, you know, in talks with C of I my senior year. Had a good scholarship offer from them, and so, but I also played baseball. I was an all-state baseball player in Washington, and so I was bouncing back what I wanted to do. My junior year, I kind of was like, man, I don't want to play baseball anymore. I want to play, you know, football, because, you know, playing for Richland, it's a big atmosphere. Football was the center focus of the town. We ended up winning a state championship, and then senior year rolls around, so we win the football state championship, and I played well, you know, and had the Frontier Conference schools, you know, with offers. And so when decision time came, I kind of was like, man, what about baseball? You know, what can I do there? Ended up having an all-state season and then winning a state championship with baseball, and so I actually didn't commit here until June. So I committed in June, right before fall camp. Committed in June to EOU. Coach Camp was the only coach that held my offer and kind of understood. I mean, there's the business side of college athletics, and but he was also understood what my situation was, and so when it came down to kind of really deciding what I wanted to do, it was either go play JUCO baseball or come here. And so I wanted to play football. That's kind of where my heart was at, and so made that decision. And 6 years later, still kicking.
When the baseball team started up, did you have like thoughts of maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I did, but I also knew that my loyalties lied with the football team, and from as a position as a leader and one of those kind of top guys, there was a side of me that wanted to play, that wanted to kind of relive those moments, but I also knew that as a leader, you got to show you're committed and show that that's what I signed my name on the paper to come here to do, and so that's where my loyalty lied.
2 sports in college is tough.
Oh yeah,
it's really tough.
Oh yeah,
especially I mean, like you think about baseball, it runs all the way through the spring. It's just I mean, I don't know anybody at EOU that's been successful with it yet, football and baseball. It's just it's tough, dude. When you came to EOU, what'd you go to school for?
Started off as a molecular biology degree, and then I switched it to physical activity and health with a concentration on physical education, and then I got my master's in teaching.
So you want to be a teacher?
Yeah, teacher and coach. Yeah. So
coach football or baseball or
football, both. Probably both. I had an amazing upbringing. Like I said, went to Richland, and the coaches that I had were such great mentors, and I mean, they really changed my life and my, I guess, the way I looked at sports, and the type of relationships you can build, and so I know when I was a senior, I had it in the back of my head that, like, man, like, this is what I want to do, this is who I want to be, and so then when I moved on, I started molecular biology because I'm big on health. I like to work out, I like to do all those things, and but then as I got going in the classes, I kind of was like, man, I really still want to do that, and so I made the switch and kept with it, and so I'm excited for that.
And 6 years later, you have a master's degree.
Yep.
And basically, I mean, you're put into a position where you can pretty much do what you want to do.
Yep. Yeah.
With COVID, man, and a redshirt year,
Yep.
you end up with 6 years. On Saturday, did you participate in senior day last year?
I did.
So all right, let's talk about the difference. What was the difference?
I think this year it hit a little harder because it's for real. I think last year there was still the little thought in the back of my head where if I want to, I could. Where I was at in my life, I was graduating with my master's. I kind of just thought because I'm done with school, I need to start go to work and be a man. And then as time went on after the season, it was kind of like, man, I could make it happen. This is a possibility. And then we talked to Coach Camp, checked with the NAIA to make sure I still had time, and I did. And so but this last year was tough because every year you plan to leave a team, you not only are leaving the game, but you're leaving your teammates.
Yeah, people you've been around.
People you've been around, and so it's been tough. A lot of guys last year I'd been around for 5 years, and but this year was a little different. I graduated with Wes Mack, our corner, who I took him under my wing when he came in as a freshman, and so being able to go out with him was tough, and then JG. Joey Gutierrez, I've been there with him for 6 years too. So he came in with me. And so just being able to walk with those guys was tough, Willie. I mean, just the relationships,
all the dudes that have been here
all
for
the dudes
5,
that have been
6
here.
years.
Yeah. So that was what was tough, is just looking back and just kind of knowing that, in a few weeks, we're all going to be kind of going our separate ways. And I mean, some guys are sticking around here. Willie's planning on coaching. JG still has to finish his, school.
Yeah.
Wes does too. And so I know I'll see him around. It'll just be different with, life. I mean,
you're not going to see him every day in the locker room.
Yeah, you don't have the locker room stuff. And so that's, I think, the toughest part, that's going to be for me. I think, thinking about the game, you give everything you have to it. 6 years is a long time. Last year I thought I was leaving, at peace, and now I know I am. So I think there's a part of me that's at peace with the game, where I know that, like, everybody's got to hang it up at some point.
When you decided to come back, was it in your mind like, I don't want to regret something down the road?
I think that was probably the number one thing, is I knew that in a year, well, the way I looked at it was in a year, whether I was coaching or whether whatever I was doing, would I regret not coming back?
Right.
And that was, I think, the biggest motivator for me. And I mean, too, just, wanting to be, positive impact with the guys. I also knew I was a leader, and knowing that I had time left, I could still, help the team. And but yeah, the regret was the biggest thing. I had a little bit of regret, just or the what ifs with baseball. I was successful in my baseball career, and so there was always the thought like, man, what if? What if I would have done something a little different? Obviously, I feel like I made the best choice. I mean, the people I've met, the relationships that I've built. But yeah, man, I was just like, in a year, 2 years, am I going to regret not doing it?
Right.
And I didn't want to have that.
What about your best memory as a Mountie, football-wise?
Best memory, probably, man, I mean, this is kind of I don't know. I mean, there's games that, I could go back and think, man, that was fun. But the best memory was probably, I think like 3 years ago. It was, I think COVID, it was 2021. Had to be 2021.
Yeah.
So it was 2021. It was in the winter conditioning. And this is kind of probably not a very great memory that people are going to be like, oh, that's awesome. But we did our winter conditioning, and it was like a foot of snow outside. And we did it with the ROTC.
I've heard this story before.
And there was like a foot of snow, and we had to run. It was 100 yards, and every so often they would say like, he sees me, and if he sees you, you have to like dive face first in the snow. And in the moment, like we did a bunch of those different like ROTC drills, and we carried guys 100 yards across the field. We firemen's carry. I mean, and in the moment, like it sucked. It was awful, but looking back, I mean, it was that, like, those moments are what I'm going to miss, just being out there with the guys, being able to create those memories. And right before we did that, they had, the EOU, grounds crew, they had put the big pile of snow, from all the roads right in front of Quinn. They had piled it right in front of our gate to go into the community stadium. And so we had to jump over the fence. So we thought we were being smart. So it was Isaiah Thomas, IT. We thought we were being smart because there was a part where the snow got just up to the top of the fence. So we thought, well, we'll just go climb up that and jump over. Well, when we went to jump over, we stepped in just this like thin sheet of ice, and it all was water. And so our cleats got absolutely just soaked. And that was pre us even being out there. We were just heading out.
You're already wet.
Drenched. And Coach Camp, he had done the same thing. He had lost his shoe in the water, and we had guys, putting their arms in it, trying to get his shoe out, trying to find it. And he was like, I'm putting my shoe on and we're going and running. And so all of us had just wet feet. And yeah, it sucked in the moment, but that was a memory I'll never forget. I mean, It feels like it was yesterday.
For sure. So this season, I mean, kind of a disappointment, kind of not in my eyes.
Yep.
What's your take on it so far? We got one game left, Montana Western on the road, and we played them earlier in the season. It wasn't a conference game.
Yep.
I mean, last year it was very similar to this year, but I feel like we're better this year. What's your take on it?
I think, in Leadership Council last year, I brought a quote to the guys, and this is when I was planning on leaving, and it talked about, old men plant trees, by which the shade they know they will never sit under. So sometimes, you look at like my career, did I really ever truly win something? No, but I look back and I think, well, maybe I did something or planted something or, created something that will allow these guys, these young guys that we were talking about earlier, that can build off of. And I think this last year was definitely a disappointment all around. It didn't feel like we had any life, even towards the end of the season.
It didn't look like it either.
And then, but this year, playing Rocky tough, Carroll tough, C of I tough, all games we, should have won.
We were right in
We were right in it. Those are great teams, but those wins would have definitely changed the trajectory of our season. And so, now looking back at that, I think, us older guys that are now going to be done planted a good, path for these guys to take it and run with it. And, as long as recruiting in the offseason goes well, guys come back and keep fighting. I think Mountie football is looking good for the future.
Yeah, I like that quote too. I like that. You're not necessarily planting the tree for you to sit under. You're planting it for the next guy.
It's a tough pill to swallow, because everybody wants to be successful.
Absolutely.
I think, going into this year, Sol and I had talked about it. Last year he wore number 7, and as a leader, that wears that number, you want to be the guy that really, leads them to win. Have the face that, really changes, the team around. And And so him and I have talked about it. He wore that number last year. We didn't have a great season. And, this year I wear the number and we still, struggle. But I think the thing that I'm going to take away from it is what that quote kind of really encapsulates.
Does the number 7 have a history outside of you and Solo, or is that just something that you?
Yeah, no, that's a Coach Camp's number.
Yeah.
A lot of Kai Quinn wore it before Solo, and Jace Billings, Justin Hughes, Jace Billingsley.
Yep.
So a lot of the great Mounties before us wore it, and so
Who wears it next year?
That's up to Coach Camp.
Yeah.
So it's up in the air. I'm sure there's guys that are going to speculate in the locker room who's going to get it, but I never thought I was going to wear it. This is one of those things you shouldn't expect.
Right.
Coach Camp had talked to me about it. In early summer, springtime, and it's just one of those things that you can't say no.
Right.
It's a legacy number and carries a lot of weight. But it's an honor. It really truly is to wear it as an honor. I mean, it's different. I was number 23 my whole life, as a little kid growing up. And so when he asked me if I wanted to wear it, if I would be honored to wear it, it was kind of like, man, I mean, yes, I will. It was different. It was a different look for me.
Yeah.
Because what I wore number wise was a big deal. I always wore number 23 in every sport. Just because, growing up watching LeBron, Michael Jordan, that was just the guys I looked up to. And so when he asked to wear it, I kind of was like, I mean, yeah, like, of course, yes, I'll wear it, but it's just be different, it's be weird, but I'm used to it now.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Like 10 years from now, where are you going to be?
Man, I think hopefully, Lord willing, coaching football somewhere. That's number one. 10 years, man, I'll be 33.
Yeah. Be an old man.
Be an old man. I think, wife, kids, just the stereotypical answer, probably living the American dream. Hopefully being a good mentor to somebody. That's always the goal for me.
You're involved with FCA, right?
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that and its impact on you.
I think football is a weird game. It brings the best out of you and it brings the worst out of you. And so having for me having a spiritual life outside of school and sports, it's allowed me to be level-headed. I also think it kind of refocuses your why. It gives you some clarity on things. And then Coach Camp has always, well, in high school, my coach would tell me this too, is that my high school coach would say I was a 18-year-old kid with a 40-year-old mind. And then Coach Camp kind of adopted that same thing, just out of the blue. And I think that was attributed to that, that spiritual life that I had. And I think it kind of just, it gives you the answers when you don't have them, And so, to playing football for so long and graduating, not, having the fear of not knowing what life's going to look like, in 10 years or 5 years or even next year.
Yeah.
I think, having that spiritual life that I have, growing up a Christian, born and raised in the church, and, it allows at least me just to not be fearful of those things. I know things are going to work out.
Yeah, you can lean into
I can lean
Jesus.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll be where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there, and hopefully doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Who's your hero?
Gotta say my dad. I think, no doubt. There was I seen a quote one time that talked about how men go through different stages with their father, if their father's in their life. And, there's usually the stage where you grow up, you don't understand them. There's the stage where you hate them, you're mad at them for everything that they do. And then there's the stage where you finally are like, no, now I get it,
Right.
And I think I'm finally getting to that last final stage, Grew up, my dad, always in the home, great father, works hard, great morals, never heard my dad cuss, never heard, parents don't drink, just one of those things where my dad always just tried to keep, a safe place at home. And as a kid, you think your parents are, being so constrictive and just suffocating you. And then you get out and kind of see the real world for yourself, and you're like, man, I appreciate that they did that. I appreciate the things I learned from them. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at, man. My dad is definitely he's
your dude.
He's my dude. He's just a guy that's, even when I didn't want him there, he was there. Taught me a lot, just about life. Obviously, my spiritual life, and then too, just about being a man. Letting me. The biggest thing I think I learned from him too is he let me fail. More than he probably wanted me to. And he would talk to me and just say, you know, my mom was kind of the mom of like, you know, no, we gotta fix every, you know, we gotta fix he's gonna fail here, so let's, you know, steer him. My dad was kind of just, you know, like, no, like let him fail.
Yeah,
He's
right.
gonna learn.
Like,
yeah,
hey,
he'll
if
learn.
you're gonna stand close to the cliff,
Yeah,
you're
gonna fall.
It's your own damn fault.
Yep. And so he was
like
that kind
that.
of father, and so I appreciate him for that. And now, and him and I have a great relationship. And so,
I like that a lot. Let's end it with this. The younger guys, if you can leave one piece of advice with them, what are you gonna say to them?
There's a quote before the games, and so before games, defense goes in the hallway, and you know, Coach Mills will talk to us, and then usually I would speak. You know, and those are times for like the defensive leaders to say something. So, you know, I would say something, Joey would say something, and there was a quote during the weeks that we were super close, Rocky, Carroll, C of I, and I would tell them, you know, when Sunday comes, when tomorrow comes, you know, just be proud of the man that stands in the mirror. You know, be proud of who he is. Be proud of the effort that he put in today. You know, don't look in the mirror and tomorrow and have any regrets. You know, right. And so I would probably tell those young guys, man, just, you know, each day. And this is probably, I don't know if I would say it's a regret that I have, you know, looking back on my career, but when the season ends, you know, you have a few months where there's winter conditioning, there's winter training, you know, but in your mind, you think, oh, I have time. I have time until the season comes. I have time until I have to start running or I have to start doing things. And then, you know, when fall camp comes around, like the man in the mirror is the reflection of the work that you put in leading up to that point. And I think, you know, a few years especially, you know, I let that time kind of go to waste. I let that offseason go to waste. And then, you know, I'm not saying I came back and was just the exact same player. You know, I think I always, you know, worked to get better in different areas. But, you know, I think there's guys don't understand the amount of work that you can put in, that you can push yourself to, and then the return that you'll see. Right. And so I would just tell them, you know, just to continue to work, man. Take this off season, take the frustrations that you have of not being successful, and turn it on. You know, every day you wake up, you know, be proud of that man you were yesterday. You know, do something to continually push yourself, and just know that there's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And that at some point in time, they're going to be like me, you know, sitting in front of you with one game left, and,
right.
And then it'll all be done. And then what they put, you know, the reflection is who he is. There's no changing him. You know, Absolutely. It is what it is. So
Eastern Oregon, he's EOU football senior, Josh Mendoza. I'm Dodzy. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you. Let's go win this last one. End this season on a high note. I love the quote that you talk about planting the tree to make the shade, not necessarily for yourself, but for the younger guys. That's absolutely awesome. You had a great career, 6 years of your life dedicated to Mountie football, and it's amazing. None of this is possible without Northwest Furniture and Mattress, though. Go check them out, man. The Daggett family. They support sports in this community. So go support them. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams in LeGrand. Eastern Oregon, that's all I got for you on a Wednesday. Hump day. I'm Dodzy. I appreciate you, and I'm out.